Slice of SciFi.
Hey, thanks for watching Slice of Sci-Fi. I'm Noah Richmond.
And I'm Lewis Howley. And we're going to be
So,
reviewing Beetlejuice 2024 AD.
yes, this is the Beetlejuice sequel 36 years after the original. So, kind of amazing that there's almost anybody still around, I guess, to come back for it. But they got most of the most of the major players. I think the most probably the most notable absence would have been the father character. Um,
Jeffrey Jones.
yes, exactly. Yeah, because that was one they had to really find all kinds of ways to explain, sort of work around and explain the absence. The Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin characters, they were able to just say, oh, well, they no, the house is no longer haunted. They just up and moved away. But yeah, the father character, they really had to go out of their way to try and figure out how do we explain, uh, eh, going so far as to include a claymation animated sequence to sort of explain away his absence. Anyway, afraid I'm somebody that doesn't know a lot of backstory as to what inspired Tim Burton 36 years later to finally get around to creating a sequel to what had been, I think, considered a fairly popular film back in the 1980s. Um, but I guess let's start with what we thought worked. And Lewis, why don't you kick us off?
Well, I'll start off with a trivia fact that Noah pointed out to me that although the title uses Beetlejuice as if it were a liquid, the character is actually named after the star in the credits listing. And I had never noticed that before. And so there were a lot of little things like that in a way in this film and its construct. I really liked Arthur Conti as in his role as Jenna Ortega's beau. And I won't reveal anything about the nature of their relationship because it would be a spoiler, but I thought he was perfectly cast. And of course, Jenna Ortega, who I really liked in Wednesday, uh, just pulls off her character here very, very well as a skeptical, moody teen who doesn't believe her mom can really see ghosts. And I liked that aspect of it. I liked the fact that there was a soul train that went to the great beyond. I thought the dance sequence and the music was perfect. And I always was a little disappointed by the original Beetlejuice, and this continues on in this Beetlejuice, that the afterlife is portrayed as really an unappealing place to go. And you have to wonder if it isn't really hell or purgatory in some way, because here you have a train to the great beyond and other vehicles that go to other places. And so I often wonder about that. I think that was what would have annoyed me. But I thought, especially Winona Ryder, also was very, very good. And in general, I thought the acting. I didn't really care for Justin Theroux's character, but then obviously he was meant to be kind of an unappealing boob in the movie, so he fit his stereotype well. And I was also a little worried about Michael Keaton's portrayal of Beetlejuice because, like so many comedians, when he gets on a shtick, so to speak, he can ramp it up and over ramp it up to the point of excess. But I thought he was very well controlled here, and in general, I really thought this movie was very entertaining.
Yeah, so for me, it's a little hard to say what I liked about it without giving away the jokes, because really the things that I thought were the highlights of it were the humor pieces that hit. I mean, I think you already somewhat alluded to the Soul Train, but the movie is full of just little little bits here and there, kind of uh, just little bits of humor that just get dropped in that really give you a good smile and a good laugh. I wouldn't say that it was a rollicking laugh from start to finish, but I think the things that worked very well. And it was also somewhat enjoyable just seeing some of these characters reprising their roles after all this time, and still being able to fit right in. Sort of just go right back into that character all these years later. I enjoyed seeing Winona Ryder as the grown-up version of that character that she played when she was quite a bit younger. And of course, Maureen O'Hara and
Catherine O'Hara.
Catherine, sorry, and Michael Keaton.
What I liked too was, in some ways, so much of the humor is like something you would expect from someone who's in the eighth grade. Like guts spilling out, headless beings with little blood spurts. Um, these, it's like the imagination and the gross out factor. But it's done in such a lighthearted way for the most part that it's not really scary, and so that's why I was surprised in thinking you really could take tweens to this movie and they would probably just be grossed out by some of the effects. And there's nothing so uh, terribly scary in this movie that would preclude them going and then having nightmares for the rest of their lives, like The Exorcist or something.
Okay, so that covers what we liked. So what didn't work for you with this one?
Well, I would say I didn't care for Justin Theroux's character, which I alluded to earlier. I found that was tedious. I think the whole shtick with the Bobs in Michael Keaton's office, to generally call them all Bob, that seems so old hat to me. And I didn't really care for those sequences particularly. Um, the whole, gosh, I'm trying to think of what to say without giving away things that might be spoiling it for the audience. But let's just say in the beginning of the movie, Justin Theroux is the manager of Winona Ryder's character on her ghost show. And the progression of their relationship did not please me. I'll say that much. Um, and But in general, I really enjoyed it much more than I disliked it. And I was surprised by that. I had very low expectations for this movie because I really didn't care for the first one. And in fact, I debated not even seeing this one, but then finally relented. Um, what did you think was bad about this movie?
Yeah, so I definitely think that what you said, I think Justin Theroux did a very good job creating himself as an unappealing character.
Okay.
The problem is then they never explain any reason why um, Winona Ryder would find him appealing. And yeah, that really didn't. I'm with you that sort of stood out as why are they doing this? It doesn't work at all. But on the whole, I would say that my problem with this film, I just recently rewatched the original Beetlejuice, and this is just true of Beetlejuice, and probably to a certain degree just Tim Burton in general. There's a very uneven quality. That's that's his style. I think it may even be intentional, but um, there's there's a kind of a choppiness about the way his films are done and presented, particularly the Beetlejuice films. Like somehow it could evoke more of a flow, more of an atmosphere than it does. But there's just a very uneven, choppy quality about how it's presented. There's, I think maybe he just revels in the chaos and then just throwing this out and throwing that out. And when it hits, it hits. That's, as I said, and when I said, and what I like about it is like when he throws out something that's just really funny, it, you know, sometimes it really hits and the whole audience is just in stitches, but it's inconsistent and you're not just grabbed by it from the very beginning and sucked in. And um the laughs are inconsistent, and the overall sense of absorption in storyline is um, inconsistent. So that's the issue I have with this film, but it's also the issue I have with the original Beetlejuice. Something that I could say is, I suppose you could say this is a good or a bad. I think if you're a fan of the original Beetlejuice and not just a nostalgia fan, like somebody who remembers what it, because I do have to say I remember liking it more from the 1980s than when I rewatched it recently. I do think it's a bit dated, and um, while I still enjoy it, I don't know that I would say it entirely holds up. Having seen them back to back, I think that this is a sequel that really does pretty well capture uh, this the overall quality and spirit of the original film, both its positive and negative.
I
You
will
know,
say, oh, pardon me.
yeah, just both its positive and negative. Yeah, that there's the things that hit and that they're really entertaining and they really work. But then there's the uneven and choppy quality with both of them.
But I was going to say that one of the things about the choppiness is that uh, some sequence, if a sequence is not very good or entertaining to you, that it won't last long. And then you're on to something else. And then there are scenes where there are little snippets within the scene, like props or uh, maybe a song in the background that make up for the low points of the same scene. So it is very bizarrely constructed in that way. And, and, but there are, that I would say there are some things in it that are almost worth going to the movie to see. And I'll
Right.
just say there's a closing musical production number that is worth it.
Yeah. So I'm going to say for myself, in summary, I did enjoy it. I do think that it's a worthy successor to the original. I don't think either film is perfect, and I think um, that uh, I don't know that either is going to fall under the category of masterwork. But I do think that they're both fun investments of your time. That that you're gonna find some enjoyment and some entertainment with both of them. And so I would give this film a 3.5 out of 5 stars.
And I will also give it 3.5 out of 5 stars for the same reason that I have to admit that on the whole, I think I enjoyed it more than I did not enjoy it. And I thought it was very clever in many ways, very creative. We had some talented actors here who lived up to their expectations. And all in all, what really surprised me about it really was that it was kind of family friendly. You know, that you could take tweens to it, not little kids, but tweens, and and you know, make a Saturday of it. So um, kudos to Tim Burton for that.
All right, well, I think that is our thoughts about Beetlejuice. And thank you for watching Slice of Sci-Fi.
Yes, never say it 3 times. Goodbye.